Friday morning at 6 o'clock. Welcome to Montana this morning. I'm Victoria Hill. So happy you're kicking off the weekend with us, and this is the place to be because Miller has everything you need to know about this weekend's winter weather forecast.
Yeah, what a change in the winds, we have coming into the weekend. Actually, we take a look at those temperatures right now. It's not too bad. We're sitting at 27 Billings, 29 in Helena, the state capital. We've got some 30s out there. Missoula at 30, 32 in Kalispell, down in Cody as well. Off to our east, we've got some teens. Glasgow at 15, Glendive at 11. My friends in Webo at 11 as well, and 19 in Miles City. So no action yet in Billings, but that is going to change as we go along this morning, and we anticipate the snow coming in. By tonight, we could have upwards of 3 inches of accumulation here in the Magic City. You can see some rain that could transition to snow off to our east. We've got some snow down to our south and snow off to our west as well. Day planner, we may have already hit our high this morning. That cold air coming in from the north, we may raise up just a little bit, but it's going to be kind of steady, and I think those temperatures decline as we go along later this afternoon, especially if that cold air really does arrive. And the timing couldn't be any better. Not everybody's going to be celebrating this today because of the bad news I got weather-wise, but it is Weather Person's Day today.
Yeah, you have all the information we need. And I want to say, was it like 2 years ago or so where it just felt like we were stuck in this below zero temperature twilight zone for what felt like forever. And so, yeah, hopefully this, weather trend we're on right now rebounds.
Did you miss it? Because I can make it happen again for you.
At first it's like, oh, well, you get what you pay for. You live in Montana, so you know what I mean? Just be accepting of it. And then after a while, like everyone was kind of like, okay already, like we get it, okay. Now things can change up.
You're about to have that nightmare all over again. By the way, I mentioned, it's Weather Person's Day, and I've been doing this for about 9 years. Do you mind if I do a little reenactment quickly of my first weather forecast?
Let's
see, I'm going to go over here to the page. All right, here we go. This is how it went. I don't know if you can pop me up or not. All right, you ready? Let's see if you can pop me up. Hello. Boy, I got better looking this morning. All right, Rob, can you get me there? Oh, you don't have a camera there.
There's no camera on you.
All right, I'm sorry. Darn it.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was
my very first time
on air.
And it only got worse from there. I'm just, you know what? Where's that hole at? Oh, there it is. I'm going to crawl back in it now.
Oh, we all have those moments. Don't worry, Miller. And our luck, they happen on live TV. You feel better. Well, our top story this morning, there may soon be a third COVID-19 vaccine available in the U.S. Emergency authorization for the product is being sought as vaccine shortages remain a reality nationwide. CNN's John Lawrence reports.
Johnson & Johnson is asking the Food and Drug Administration for an emergency use authorization of its single-shot COVID-19 vaccine.
This could not come at a better time. Cases are dropping rapidly in the United States. The 7-day moving average for new cases is down 54% since its peak in January. Now is the time to put the fire out.
A group of experts will discuss the data at a meeting later this month. If J&J gets the okay from the full FDA, the vaccine goes to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which will decide if the vaccine is safe for the general public and who should get it first.
This is the perfect vaccine for mass vaccination events where you don't really want to try and get people back.
The pharmaceutical giant says its vaccine is 85% effective at preventing hospitalizations and deaths in all of the areas where it was tested.
We obviously got to vaccinate more and more people, but this is significant development.
The U.S. has placed an order for 100 million doses, and Johnson & Johnson says it can deliver that amount by June. Health experts say mask wearing and other prevention efforts are still necessary, but there is room for some optimism.
When we get into the fall, late summer, I think we have a good chance of not saying normal, because I think that's a whole different term nowadays, but being in a much, much better position.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Health officials say masks are still a must to slow COVID-19 and its variants. And there may be some bipartisan progress being made on the latest stimulus package. Democrats hope to put the finishing touches on the bill this month. They're still expected to pass it without any Republican support. However, last night, GOP senators did agree to a few terms. One prevents high earners from receiving a stimulus check. Another establishes a fund to provide grants to restaurants and bars affected by the coronavirus. President Biden remains hopeful Republicans will get on board with the plan. U.S. households could receive a delivery of face masks from the U.S. government. President Biden's COVID response team wants to consider the logistics involved before mailing out millions of face masks. One consideration is the cost. They're also discussing how many masks each household would receive and if those masks would be cloth or disposable. President Biden wants all Americans to wear face coverings the first 100 days of his term to try to slow the spread of COVID-19. Now we go to Missoula, where a man is in custody after getting involved in an armed standoff with police, marking the second standoff in Montana this week. This one lasted 4 hours and started yesterday afternoon. Police were called to a home for a report of an assault with a weapon that left someone injured. The suspect barricaded himself in the home and surrendered peacefully after hours of negotiation. The man's name has yet to be released, and there's no word on the condition of the injured victim. In other news, Montana's largest coal mine will not be allowed to expand, at least for now. Spring Creek coal mine near Decker had plans to grow, and the move would have kept them operational for at least 6 more years. But a judge shot down that proposal, saying when Spring Creek's permit was approved, the U.S. Office of Surface Mining ignored the environmental and health consequences of continued coal mining. The ruling means the Office of Surface Mining now has 240 days to conduct a new environmental assessment. Also making headlines this morning, controversial freshman Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been stripped of her seats on 2 key committees, essentially diminishing her power. This after the Georgia representative made statements supporting conspiracy theories and violence against lawmakers. CBS's Deborah Alfarone has a story.
The motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
In a rare move, House Democrats and a handful of Republicans stripped Georgia's Marjorie Taylor Greene of her committee assignments Thursday. Democratic lawmakers say they had no choice but to vote after House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy failed to act.
You would think that the Republican leadership in the Congress would have some sense of responsibility.
Let me be very clear. Representative Greene's past comments and posts as a private citizen do not represent the values of my party.
Greene had previously endorsed violence against Democratic lawmakers, said school shootings were staged, and denied a plane hit the Pentagon on 9/11. Yesterday, she walked back those comments.
School shootings are absolutely real. I also want to tell you 9/11 absolutely happened. I remember that day crying all day long watching it on the news. And it's a tragedy for anyone to say it didn't happen.
Democrats insist, though, the damage has already been done.
Congresswoman Greene's past support and present reaffirmation for violence, intimidation, lies, and racism is dangerous. It is exactly the kind of conduct that helps fuel domestic terrorism.
While GOP lawmakers did disavow Greene's comments, most argued that removing her from committees sets an alarming precedent.
Everyone has done things they wish they didn't do, so who's next? Who will the cancel culture attack next?
Still, 11 Republicans joined Democrats in the vote to kick Greene off the Education and Budget committees. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Greene has scheduled a press conference for 9 o'clock this morning. Former President Donald Trump has rejected a request that he testify at his Senate impeachment trial next week. The president's lawyers are calling the idea a publicity stunt, but impeachment managers suggest it could still require him to show up and defend himself. The trial is slated to begin on Tuesday. Trump's lawyers claim the trial is unconstitutional because he's no longer president. He's charged with inciting the riots at the Capitol. Voting tech companies are filing big lawsuits over election fraud claims. Smartmatic USA is suing Fox News, 3 of its hosts and former lawyers of President Trump, Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell. The company says they spread false claims that Smartmatic helped to steal the presidential election. The company is going after nearly $3 billion, making it one of the largest libel suits the country has ever seen. Smartmatic's voting system was only used in Los Angeles County. President Joe Biden's foreign policy plans are rounding into form. Yesterday, he spoke in front of the State Department and highlighted relations with both allies and adversaries across the globe. The president said he's had meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin and told him interfering with our elections and cyber attacks are over, adding the U.S. would not hesitate to raise the cost on Russia and defend the interest of Americans. President Biden says he wants to bring diplomacy back to the center of U.S. foreign policy. While President Biden was focusing on issues abroad, lawmakers on Capitol Hill were discussing domestic terrorism and how credible it is after the January 6th riot. CBS's Natalie Brand has more.
As the fencing and National Guard presence remain in place around the U.S. Capitol, Homeland Security officials say the increased safety measures need to continue for the time being.
The District of Columbia, at Mayor Bowser's direction, has requested that 500 D.C. National Guard personnel remain on standby as a quick reaction force through March 12th.
The House Homeland Security Committee held a virtual hearing Thursday to discuss what led to the January 6th Capitol assault and what can be done to counter the ongoing threat of domestic terrorism.
I urge that at a minimum, we change our laws to ensure equal justice, treating threats from ideologies that originated overseas and within the United States the same.
A former DHS counterterrorism official is calling for a bipartisan commission to explore how to update laws and policies to address the threat. The head of the Anti-Defamation League called the insurrection the most predictable terror attack in American history, citing a marked increase in threats from white supremacists.
That act of domestic terrorism was a watershed moment for the white supremacist movement in this country. For them, the sight of congressmen and women cowering under tables, Confederate flags, and Nazi symbols being paraded through the building was nothing short of a victory.
Senators are also calling on the Department of Justice and FBI to release more details about the lead up to the attack. In a bipartisan letter, Senators Dick Durbin and Chuck Grassley ask, what information did you possess about the threats, and what information did you share with federal, state, or local departments and agencies? The senators say they also plan to hold an oversight hearing with the FBI director in March. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Now back here in Montana, there's a new way to bet sports, and it's here just in time for Super Bowl 55. Montana Lottery will now offer micro market betting. That means bettors using Sportsbet Montana will be able to wager on individual plays during a game. And you can place your bets while watching the Super Bowl here on Q2. Coverage begins at 9:30 Sunday morning with the game set to start at 4:30. And before we take a break, the American Heart Association is raising awareness about heart disease and stroke in women, which is why they're recognizing today as National Wear Red Day. It's the #1 killer of women, but doctors say 80% of those cardiovascular deaths are preventable. CBS's Elise Preston has more on what women need to know.
Professional dancer Megan Corbin loves to create art through movement.
I'm assuming you live a pretty healthy lifestyle.
Yes, I do. I work out a lot. I eat healthy.
But last summer, the 30-year-old's health took an unexpected turn when she woke up with what felt like bad indigestion.
It felt like an intense pressure from gas. And so I tried to deal with it by myself, not knowing blood was not getting to my heart. So once I got to the hospital, they told me that part of my heart had died.
She suffered a heart attack, which can present much differently for women, according to New York City cardiologist Dr. Suzanne Steinbaum.
The symptoms are not often that crushing chest pain that we hear about. It might be more subtle, like shortness of breath, jaw pain, back pain, nausea.
The American Heart Association finds 1 in 3 women will die from heart disease, and racial disparities persist. Black women have more risk factors, develop cardiovascular disease earlier, and have higher death rates compared to white women. Dr. Steinbaum says knowing your numbers like body mass index, blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol is key.
80% of the time, heart disease is preventable. There is nothing more empowering than that statistic.
They did find my blood pressure was pretty high and my cholesterol levels were elevated.
Corbin takes medication to control her numbers and is spreading the word to women to be aware of the risk factors and take care of their hearts. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Only 1 in 5 American women believe heart disease is her greatest health threat, which is why the American Heart Association is getting the word out on how to prevent it. And this just in, the Senate has passed a key procedural step that sets up the ability for Democrats to pass President Joe Biden's sweeping COVID-19 relief package without the threat of a filibuster from Republicans who oppose it. The 50-50 tie vote was broken by the vice president.